the era of music marketing coaching is officially ended. And so artists do not want a course. They don't want a community. They just want the result. And I was speaking to a friend of mine a couple of months ago. I said, bro, I'm going to completely change my business. I'm going to go from content plus ads to ads plus content. And he laughed in my face. He said, bro, those are the same thing. They're identical business model. I said, no. What I've been doing for years is, teaching an artist with the tools to do it for themselves. But by human nature, we take shortcuts. Anything we can do to make it easier. And so when somebody didn't get the result, I would blame myself. And what I've learned from this experience is they're not going to get the result unless I get it for them. And so I swapped my business. And I said, I'll stop teaching people how to make great content. I will stop teaching people how to build a 6-week song release strategy. And I'll just say, look, release it however the fuck you want, and I'll run your ads for you. And guess what happened? Within a couple of weeks, I had 100K hit makers, or artists who'd hit 100,000 Spotify plays and 100,000 YouTube views happen overnight. And because I can guarantee it's going to happen with the right ad strategy, with the right budget and the right tactics that you're doing to get that 100,000 plays, it's almost a certainty that when you work with me, you're going to get that outcome. And for years, I was having artists come to my coaching, my community, my group, and they just came from all the other coaches in the game. And they work with people who have on-demand £15 a month communities, people who have high-ticket coaching, people who make them spend a fortune in ads, but learn it themselves, and they wouldn't ever get the result. And people who'd bought, £50 courses, £500 courses, and they never progressed any further. And so no wonder they were looking for a different coach. And so I want to just share a couple of things that I learned through this process, because it's been a bit wild. I probably spent more time in the last few months running my business than making any content. And there's other coaches out there that all they do all day is make videos for TikTok and Instagram. So you're like, well, where the fuck is your business? Like, are you actually working with musicians, or are you just talking about it? Because there's two types of people, right? And I respect everyone's hustle, right? Everyone's got to do their thing. But there are certain coaches who just one day started making content and teaching others how to do it without having done it themselves. Right? All of a sudden they said, I know this shit. I'm going to make content about what you should do in your music career. Or they're saying, this is what I would do if I was a musician. Well, you're not a musician. So how are you actually going to talk the talk like you walk the walk? Right? So some people, you could say they haven't lived it. And you've got others, and again, mad respect, they've done it for themselves, but they haven't been able to teach it properly. And so there's musicians who learned the game of ads, or who learned the game of gigs, and they learned the game of marketing a song, and now they're then teaching it and paying it forward. And you're like, good, but does your system that worked for you work for everybody else? Because every artist is different in their own right. And I think that's the difference with me, right? I worked for 10 years at a record label before I made a single video. And I worked in artist management companies like Operator Records, where the artists on the label were managed by the head of the label. I worked with brands like SBTV, Grime Daily. I worked for TuneCore as a consultant. I worked for Amazon Music as a consultant. Before I ever made a single bit of content publicly, I was actively running ads for the brands. Right? I spent time at Ministry of Sound. Again, before I even had social media, I was phoning up universities and booking parties for summer balls and winter balls, booking headline acts for a brand like Ministry of Sound. And then I've gone on to realize I wanted to pick the artists that I work with. That was the number one reason why I left the labels, where I got given some talent who didn't deserve my energy working on them. And that changed everything. And when I decided to pick, I love your music, I'm a fan of you, can I be your coach? That's when everything began to merge together. But even in this era of music marketing, sometimes the coach wins, but the musician doesn't. So if you as an artist right now, we're going to pay a high ticket coach £2,000, you have skepticism. Is it a scam? Am I actually going to have this work? And no matter how many testimonials you read, no matter how many case studies you read, is it actually going to work for you? Are you actually going to work for yourself? And so I'm sure there's dozens of people, hundreds of people who've gone to one of these high ticket coaches and never got the damn outcome, right? And so for me, it all comes down to how can I align my goals with the artist's goals? And that's when I stopped charging upfront for my advertising services. So as nowadays, I take a commission. So I say, look, how much budget have you got to invest in this song? And so they might say, I've got £500, £1,000, £3,000. I say, cool. I'm going to take a commission off that budget. And so the more you spend, the more I earn. And the better you do, the more you'll come back to me to run your ads for every single release. And I started with some pop artists, some R&B artists, some rap artists, and I just kept doing a good job. And so they kept coming back for more. They said, oh, this was great. Let's add another £200. Let's add another £500. Add another £1,000. I said, no problem. So I take my little commission and I aligned my goal with their goal. And so now we're growing together. And so instead of the artist investing in me, I'm investing in the artist. Because I'm saying, I'll give you my time, my skills, my experience, things that I wouldn't do, and I guide them on the right path. Rather than being a yes man and just saying, whatever you want, I'll do, I challenge my clients. I say, no, I don't want you to spend money here. Or I think it's a bad idea to do this. Here's my suggestion instead. I'll ultimately do what you want, but use me for my experience. I've been doing this advertising game for over 12 years. And what that's done has been transformational. I've had more 100K hitmakers than ever before. In the past, I used to feel like a bit of a fraud. Like, was it the artist's good music that got them to the hundreds of thousands of plays or millions of plays for some of my past clients? I was never taking public credit for their wins because I'm like, it wasn't me. Right? And my coach once said this to me. I had 2 coaches before I ever became a coach. And so many of these other gurus right now, they've never ever invested in high ticket themselves, but they're charging high ticket. So my first coach, Vincent, I paid him over 3K. My second coach, Neil, I paid him over 4K. And so Vincent taught me a lot. And one of the things he said to me, I never forget it. It was a group call. There was like 15 other musicians there, and I nearly broke down in tears. And he's like, your ego is getting in the way. And so I had to kill my own ego and say, it was almost like if I didn't have 100% like ownership of the artist's results, I wasn't taking credit for it. And he called me after class, and one boy, Charles, stayed after class, and we hashed it all out. And I finally had a breakthrough. And these are the things that build character. And so now I feel like the way I'm working with artists is aligned to their goal. Like, I want you to hit 100,000 plays. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make your budget work harder, to make your strategy work harder, and any excuse you might be having, I want to take it away so I can get you to a result. And so I say all this to say, my new strategy moving forward into 2026 and beyond is to work with as many artists as possible and make them into 100K hitmakers. I want to have so much undeniable social proof that would be seeming wildly impossible that you're not going to hit 100,000 plays by working with me. And to do that, I have to have 2 rules. One is I have a floor budget. So nothing below £500 ad budget I'll even accept, because I know what it takes to get to that goal, 100K hitmaker status. And so if someone's only got £50 or, £150, I say, look, it's just not the right time to work with me. Like, there's tutorial videos on my website, how to use a software called HitmakerOS, which is an AI-powered ads service. And I gave a full tutorial and a playbook exactly how to use the software. So run ads yourself and then come back to me when you need some more help. That's the first rule. And then the second rule is I will never, ever accept a campaign that I don't believe in. And so if I don't vibe with a person's personality, if I don't vibe with their music, if I don't vibe with the topic of their song, I'm not going to accept the business. A few weeks ago, I turned down a £20,000 ad budget. And so my percentage would have been crazy, but the energy wasn't right. And so I knew I had to say no, even though I could use that to feed my family, to look after my people, my loved ones. But you have to do what is right. And sometimes your heart and your head speak different languages. And so your head can say yes, oh, logically, it makes total sense, but your heart says no. And I'm listening to my heart more. And so I say all this to say, I don't think anyone in this economy is going to do well with a high ticket coach. If you're paying someone £2,000, £3,000 to teach you the game, right? You're spending a lot of money for very little result. If you're working with someone whose goals are aligned to yours, you're going to go far and they're going to go far together. And of course, there are good folks in the world, right? There are plenty of people I can name that I respect in this game. But there are far more people who I used to look up to and they let me down. And they always say, don't meet your heroes, right? There's people who I dreamed of interviewing one day, and then I've found out about their true character. I'm like, ugh, I'm so glad I didn't. Like the universe saved me from that misstep. And that's what I want for you. I want the universe to save you from spending money in the wrong places. Like even if you just look at the ways of marketing your music, right? I have this system called Praise. So playlist, radio, ads, industry gigs, Spotify, and email. Praise. And so look at these systems, right? Playlist, nothing is a guarantee. Like you pitch to playlist, you might have to pay them. You pay the playlist promotion agency or the plugger, and they pitch you, but there's no guarantee it turns into streams. Same for radio. You pay a plugger to chat to all the different radio stations, but they might not play the song. And if they do play the song, there's no guarantee it turns into streams. Ads, that's exactly where I live, right? You run ads, you have conviction and certainty that with conversion campaigns, they turn into verifiable streams. You put a pixel on the back end, and so you only get charged when someone listens on Spotify. This is the method to success, right? For industry gigs, you could play a lot of gigs, but do you get any of those people looking you up on social media or on Spotify afterwards? Maybe, maybe not. Spotify has a suite of tools and resources that you need to take advantage of. And this is what I'm going to start teaching soon. Things like discovery mode, things like countdown pages, Shopify integration, bands in town pages, and so much more. And so Spotify is another area you can take advantage of. Email, like not enough musicians have their own mailing list. And so that's, again, something I'm going to teach you guys more of, is how to own your email list and how to market to your community. Rather than just saying the song is out, pre-save it now, the song is out, watch it on YouTube. Using your mailing list to nurture your fan base and talk to them on the regular. Again, I'm just excited for what this future has got in store. I've built the studio to create content at scale. I want to be disciplined. I want to be like batching out content and creating what I want you lot to hear. Like I think it's the start of a new era, right? What I'm doing now, and I'm not taking people to join my community anymore. The easiest way, I'm going to split my business in half. Half my business is going to be digital products, where you'll not ever get to speak to me. So you can download a playbook, you can download a training, you can watch it in your own time, and that's half of my business. But the entry of my business is a group coaching, where anything you're working on, I get to help and strategize with you. I'm teaching you, but you're doing it yourself. That's the entry of my business. One level up that's done, do it yourself. A level up is done with you. And so I'll help you do that part of the campaign. I'll help you with your strategy. I'll help you with your content canon. I'll help you with your editing. But you ultimately got to post it yourself, and your results are your own. Then there's done for you. And that's just when I just take over and run the ads on your behalf. And even here's the lesson, yeah? So I was teaching my community how to do it themselves. And I did a 3-week intensive training where 1 week was Symphony, 1 week was Spotify ads, and 1 week was YouTube ads. And they all just said, thanks for teaching it, but we're going to pay you to do this for us. Because people don't want a course. They don't want a group coaching. They want the result. And so I'd rather help you get the result and make you into a 100K hitmaker than we spend years of your life trying to teach you how to do it yourself. I can buy back your time for you and get you to that destination. So if you want to book in a call to have me run your ads, hit the link in the description below, and I'll put in 15 minutes of time with you on the house. We'll build a media plan for free. And we're going to plan out how you're going to spend your £500 budget doing whatever objectives you want to achieve. If you want Spotify streams, YouTube views, if you want YouTube followers, Instagram followers, TikTok followers, Instagram views, TikTok views, whatever you want to achieve, I will slice and dice your £500 up and say where you should prioritize. Sometimes you can't afford all of it, so you have to make tough decisions. Then we lock in that media plan, and then we connect to your YouTube ads account, your Facebook ads account, your TikTok ad account, whatever. Then I run the ads for you.